Frank Redus, born in Alabama, was the father of Carl Redus, born and raised in Arkansas. That Carl Redus would become the father to Carl Redus Jr., a man serving his city of Pine Bluff. Frank Redus was documented with his family living in Bald Knob and Searcy, Arkansas, from 1930 to 1900. The next challenge was to document Frank Redus in the 1800s. Due to a fire in 1921, the 1890 census was destroyed, therefore leaving the 1880 census as the next available year to study. In 1900, Frank Redus was 31 years old. In 1880, Frank Redus would be an 11-year-old boy. What would his father's name be, and where was he located? Did he and his family come to Arkansas when he was just a young boy? Did he live his younger years in Alabama and migrate to Arkansas as a young man? 1880 census would hold the answer. Researching White County, Arkansas in 1880 yielded no Redus families with ties to Alabama. So where was the Redus family with a small boy called Frank? There were two counties, one lying due north of the other, that had several families called Redus all over the countryside. But which one would hold a young boy Frank? The Alabama families did not have a household with a boy Frank, but to the north, in the city of Pulaski, county seat of Giles County, Tennessee, there was a family of Reduses. The name was spelled differently, but one of the major rules when searching for ancestors on records is that spelling can vary. And this family of Reduses was a large one, and there was a young boy named Frank. The child Frank was 11 years old, placing his year of birth to be about 1869, the same year that Frank said that he was born. If this was the correct family, then another generation of Rita's family members was revealed. Anthony and Tempe Redus. Anthony and Tempe both were in their 50s, and both were also of age to have been born slaves. The next question was, would they be found in 1870? 1870 was a critical year because that was the first year that all African Americans would be listed in the census finally as free people. Would Anthony and Tempe Redus be identified someplace between Giles County, Tennessee, or Limestone County, Alabama? Sure enough, there was the same family in 1870. Living not far from Athens, Alabama, Anthony Redus and wife Tempe and their children. And the youngest child in the house was Frank. This was indeed corroboration of the data that Frank provided in the 1900 census, that he was born in 1869. But what else does the 1870 document itself tell us? Anthony was in his late 40s and his wife was close in age to him. He was clearly a man of resource, for in 5 short years since freedom, he had amassed a small amount of personal property, worth $1,100 at that time. Civil War ended in 1865, and in 1866 the state of Alabama conducted a census, and there, enumerated on the colored census of Limestone County, Alabama, were some Reduses. Anthony was present, as were several children. The young boy Frank was not yet born. In this year, for the first time, former slaves of the many Redus plantations were written down as citizens on the soil where they were born. A search of 1860 confirms what was suspected. They were not enumerated in 1860 and were definitely part of the enslaved population in Limestone County, Alabama. But finding this family together in 1866 and then again in 1870 is one to celebrate, for this family emerged from the pain and horrors of slavery intact, with mother and father and children together, facing a new future of freedom. And there, on the soil of Alabama, could be found another chapter of this Redus history. The next chapter would be one where black men chose not to wait for their freedom, but to fight for their freedom. There, on Alabama soil, documents indicate that Anthony Redus had been among a group of men from several Redus plantations who fled in the dead of night off of Redus land to the front lines of Union Army forces. Anthony Redus and his kinsmen joined the United States colored troops, and that story would lead to the rest of the Redus history.